Hello, greetings. I'm Lucia, and I haven't done a YouTube in a long time, so I'm happy to reconnect with those of you that I know and happy to meet those of you that I don't. And the purpose of this YouTube today is to give you the best of my perception about what's transpiring in the world, the energy, so an energetic readout. And also that segues into a series that I'm launching, a guided meditation series, which ties directly into what I'm going to talk about. It's called Navigating New Earth Energies. So we find ourselves at a tipping point in what is going on in the world. It's hard to see that because the outer world, the 3D world, is so chaotic at the time. And if we still are reacting to, if we're still triggered by what is going on externally, then we are in motion with our processes. And in order to see anything, not just what's going on in the world, you have to be completely neutral. You can't hope for one thing or fear another thing. You've got to be completely neutral in order to see. And so those of us who have been doing our work right along, and for me, that means meditating and processing, doing emotional processing to clear the trauma of the 5,000-year-old patriarchy. And those of us who can perceive a little bit what's coming, it doesn't mean that we don't have to do the same work as everybody else, but it means that we can project ourselves out to a point in time and say, okay, I need to work towards this. This is what I see will transpire. And if I'm correct, then I need to synchronize with that so that you can always be in alignment with the earth. So let's talk about Earth for a minute. At the recent December solstice, 2021, if my perceptions are correct, and I can only speak via my own perceptions and my own experience, the Earth actualized what I would call ninth dimensional energy. And the best description I know for ninth dimensional energy is what people refer to as Christ consciousness. From this vantage point, if we cast our minds back many hundreds of years, Christ walked the earth and lived in a consciousness that was non-judgmental, all-accepting. It was unconditional love. And those seeds got planted. And if you wanted to personalize the journey of Earth, and she's a soul like all the rest of us, she's on her own evolutionary trajectory, just like the rest of us, manifests in a different way, of course, because her body is different. But those seeds were planted and germinated. She, in my view, actualized those experiences, those qualities at the last December solstice. So when we actualize something, we go through the process of first acclimating to it, getting used to it, rubbing shoulders with it, then allowing it inside to become our own experience. We integrate the experience, and ultimately we actualize the vibration. So she actualized the vibration, and what that means to us today is we now have a playing field that we didn't have before. So most people refer to what we've been going through for many, many years, a couple of decades, as the ascension process. At this stage, I wouldn't call it so much ascension. That's, to my mind, an old term that infers hierarchy. I would call it a refinement process, because nothing changes really. We don't change. We still have a physical body. That physical body still has an intersection point of the Sushumna, the core of light within us, which is divine, the divine within. That doesn't change. We just refine little by little our perception of that. We acclimate to more and more multidimensionality, which alters perception. So the earth had been going through this refinement process for a couple of decades and acclimating to, and then integrating and finally actualizing 9D. And as we said, 9D is non-judgment for anything outside of you in the exterior 3D world, all acceptance, which infers a flow inward through the heart, which I'll get to in a moment, and unconditional love for all things. So you could say unconditional everything. The earth is there, and that's the vibration that we're walking on underfoot. Not only are we walking on that, but it is manifest in nature. It's manifest in every rock, every plant, every tree, every animal, every human being who to some degree or another can acclimate to that. It's literally, it's kind of replaced the matrix. You know, we used to talk about the matrix and how it capped perception, but the matrix is now the rebooted original experiment in consciousness. Earth rebooted into that very refined vibration. And the best way you can describe it, the best way I can describe it, is to say it's non-judgmental and it's all accepting. So that implies absolute neutrality, doesn't it? Because we know when we get triggered by something outside of ourselves in the 3D world, which really, if we're street smart in terms of our spirituality, we know that that's simply a reflection for something that we need to look at here. You know, there is an exterior world out there. There is a 3D world, and there are other people out there, and we are co-creating an evolutionary process. We are co-creating an outcome. We are co-creating at the current moment the adaptation of the species from one species into another. In other words, some of us will take up residence in New Earth, and that's possible now because New Earth is stabilized beneath our feet. But the point is, we're walking through it. There's no place to run. There's no place to hide. There's no escaping this new reality. And this is what is causing all of the problems in the world. In my view, if you've got this stabilized, which is absolutely still and neutral, then all people, all systems, all belief systems, all rigid ideas, all form and structure, this is formless. So anything that is a rigid form in the world is interacting with this and trying to control its experience. And it is at this point impossible because the worlds have split. We've got the new paradigm and we've got the old paradigm, and the old paradigm is doing this and trying to function in the old way. And the only way to function in the new paradigm is to do this, yeah, to synchronize with this. So this is what's causing all the problems. And unless we can come into a deep understanding that any place we're holding, any place we are attached to a structure in our life, there's no problem with form and structure. The problem is the attachment to the form and the structure. So if you have a rigid religious belief system or a rigid spiritual belief system, if you have rigid polarities that you are adhering to arrogance and worthlessness, victim and tyrant, light and dark. Everything now is asking to be dissolved. Everything now is asking to be reconciled back into this unconditional, neutral everything. And so any place that we're holding on, it's because we are attached to the outcome. We want to be happy. We want to avoid being sad. We want to be in the light all the time. We shun the darkness. Whatever it is, you've got to release that attachment. And again, my way is through meditating and through processing, and allow it to fall back into the whole. Yeah. So I have been working a lot with my meditation. I have returned to a meditation technique which served me many years ago. I learned it 40 years ago. I've been meditating for over 50 years. 40 years ago, I met what you might call your root guru, the guru you're supposed to study with, the teacher. And I was taught a Kundalini yoga meditation, which focused on what most people refer to as the navel chakra, the heart chakra, and the third eye. These are the three Dantian centers in some Eastern traditions. So you could refer to them as lower Dantian, center Dantian, and upper Dantian. And I began with a very simple meditation technique, which was updated based on the energetic that is transpiring on the planet, because you always have to update. You can't necessarily stay with the traditional. It serves you as a springboard at this point. But if you're strictly adhering to that, you're adhering to that form and structure, and you are attached to it. And it's serving you only partially, in my humble estimation. So we always have to temper what we know. We always have to temper the exercises, the protocols that we're using in light of the energetic of the earth, the date and the time. So, my cat. Yeah, you're going to have to wait until later, okay? Not now. So I've returned to this very basic meditation, which is focusing on the lower Dantian. And I use gratitude to sort of prime the pump of the meditation. If you use gratitude, if you feel gratitude towards the earth, and you feel gratitude towards your body, which is made up of virtually the same elements of the earth, we are one and the same. If you can conjure up gratitude for those two things, thank the earth for hosting you, thank your body for getting you this far, no matter how many aches and pains you have, then that gratitude floods the embodiment with a very high vibration. It's the highest, one of the highest vibrations you can feel on the emotional spectrum. Then you come up to the heart center, and you focus on unconditional love, because that's the playing field now, A, and B, that's where we need to be navigating from this point forward in the new earth paradigm. And finally, you meditate here, you move your awareness back into the cave of Brahman, which is the intersection point between the third eye and the Sushumna, the core of light that passes directly through the center of the physical body and the subtle physical body. And that's where you play with the light. That's where you inquire into the epicenter of source within. And that's quite techie, yeah? But recently I went back and I revisited this meditation technique, and I've been spending all of my time on the lower Dantian, because it became apparent to me that I had not completely stabilized my alignment, my connection with the earth. And so I intended, and I began asking, please I don't want to hold myself separate anymore from the new paradigm on the earth. I want full connectivity. I don't want to simply go down and connect in the way I might have grounded before to the center of the earth. I want no separation. I no longer want to hold myself separate from the vibration of the earth. Now, you have to be careful when you ask for this, because the shift, as they say, may hit the fan and all hell may break loose, and you may start reacting to everything that you need to clear. You may start burning away what remains of the egoic structure. But this is the approach that I've taken, and it has been absolutely fascinating and has completely shifted not only my meditation and my experience, my perception, but my the way I experience my day-to-day life. Huge shift. And the way I did it was by initially going down and grounding the way that we've been taught to ground. So you sit at that navel chakra and you imagine the energy dropping down through the lower two chakras, the second and the root chakra, exiting the body, going down through the earth to her core. That's the heart or the core of the earth. And you plug in there, you might say, yeah? But when I ask for fully connecting, then that became more or less a pillar of light. I think that was the first dramatic experience, the first dramatic change that I experienced. So it was like full body connectivity with the earth. And the next major change that I experienced, I did so by querying, using self-inquiry and saying, why am I holding myself separate from the earth? And when I asked that question, I became the earth. And I became the vibration. And there was no longer any separation. The next day, I didn't meditate, which is very rare to me. A couple times a month, I go to the city shopping, which is an hour away. And I get up and leave at the crack of dawn. And I don't meditate. And I walked in that day, you know, I live in South America, so we have markets, outside markets. I walked into the flower market. And in Ecuador, they grow a lot of flowers, which they export. You can get a dozen roses here for $2. Which is really nice because you can fill your house with roses if you decide to that day. But I walked into this flower market and the vibration of the flowers knocked me back. My perception, I could perceive the life force emanating from all of these flowers. And I had to just freeze and spend about a half a minute simply taking it in. So that was my first hint that there had been a major shift that had taken place. And now when I go on walks in nature, I can see it everywhere. I can see the vibrancy of this particular frequency that the earth is holding. And it all happened because I asked for, I intended absolute, complete connectivity with the earth and no separation. Yeah? So that for me was the missing puzzle piece, because when you come up to the next chakra, the next center, this is where we need to learn to navigate from. This is the home, if my read on it is correct, of unconditional love. So to operate with complete neutrality and non-judgment, to receive all experiences in with unconditional love, This is where the earth is. This is where we find ourselves, and this is what we are attempting to acclimate to or integrate at this point, depending upon how advanced you are in your practice. So this is what I'm going to be going into in my guided meditation on February the 20th. I'm offering this public series called Navigating New Earth Energies and exploring how to live in, how to begin navigating through the vibration of New Earth and how to access it and embody it totally. It's a learning experience for me, but I'm trying to pass along to anyone who's interested in my findings, my discoveries, my transits. Yeah. So I've been working on my health I had to kind of semi-retire over a year ago, and I stopped doing public things because I had zero energy. And I've now been working with someone, and I'm regaining enough creative energy that I've been able to put together a public offering. And I'm absolutely ecstatic to reconnect with some of you and to meet those of you that I've missed in the interim, to reconnect and to explore this new terrain, because it is so beautiful. It is so still. It is so refined. It is so silent. And to live from that place, I'm not there yet, but I'm close enough to be able to feel it and to know that it is possible. That is the invitation on the table. That is what is shaking the world, the 3D world built on top of the earth to its core. That is what is in free fall. We are at the tipping point, and we are entering free fall. And we have to be prepared for 2 or 3 years of very erratic, chaotic activity. But if you are in neutrality, if you can come back every day in meditation to center and reestablish your alignment with the earth, and if you can use or learn a processing technique to deal with whatever is coming in, yeah. Because perception, I was talking a little bit earlier about we are co-creating our experience and our outcome on the earth, but we are creator beings. We are creator beings, and we are quite literally creating our own realities. And your reality is your perception of what appears to be outside, what appears to be the upheaval, what appears to be the outcome. We are all co-creating, and you are in complete charge of what your perception is. It's all perception. It's all perception, and from my vantage point, it is all perfect. We can be guaranteed that everything that's transpiring is perfect, that where we are in our evolution is perfect, because source is perfect, and it's all made up of source. All of creation is made up of source energy. So anything that we're holding on like this, anything that we are attached to, is consciousness under pressure, and all we have to do is process it, sit with it, direct our attention at it, because it is simply asking for attention, and repeatedly allow it to go like this. Next time it won't come quite together, and it will continue to go. Finally, it drops. It drops from the field. The polarity, the belief system, whatever is rigid and holding us back, drops from the field and stabilizes in the field of earth, neutrality. And we gain the ability to live life without being triggered, without having processes. maintaining that neutrality and merging more and more with source light, with the pure intelligence, the pure consciousness that is source. So the earth is there, and she's inviting us to synchronize. And it's our choice. Many people are choosing not to do that. Most people, I think, are choosing not to do that. And that's perfectly fine, because everyone's higher self is directing them towards their highest outcome. So who are we to judge? Coming back to non-judgment. Who are we to say that that person shouldn't be experiencing the chaos that they're experiencing? Who are we to say that that person shouldn't be undergoing the death process? We can't. We can only know for ourselves. So some of us are going to make it, and some of us are going to move fully into new paradigm energies, the new earth. And we know in our heart of hearts that we're here to stabilize this, to utilize it, to begin the rebuilding process when it is appropriate, to hold the space now for things to fall apart, yeah? And to finally segue into recycling, rebuilding, healing, and so on. Some of you are here to do that. I'm here to just pass off the remaining knowledge that I have, being a first waver. I'm on my way out. But I'd like to connect with as many of you as possible in order to hand off whatever knowledge I have that you may be interested in. So, if you'd like to connect on February 20th, then you can go to my website, luciarenee.com. You can look in the menu for offerings, and you can go down to teleconferences. And I hope to reconnect with some of you there. All right. Be well. Namaste.